Puritanism 1600 to 1660. 7th century may be divided into two periods, the Puritan age or the age of Milton. 17th century was marked by the decline of the Renaissance spirit, the negative impact of Renaissance. The writer either imitated the great master of Elizabethan period or followed the new faths. There is marked change in temperament in Martin. He was a complete break away with medieval times. It is considered the second and greater Renaissance. It was a reaction against narrow-minded, gloomy dogmatists who were against all pleasure but they were not so. It was a period of genuine liberty politically and intellectually. It was a period of genuine liberty politically and intellectually. It was a period of analyzed, classified, systematic knowledge. For the first time, the writer began using English language as a vehicle for conveying the facts. It was a period of science. Newton, Bacon, and Descartes belonged to this period. There was popularizations of autobiography and literature. There was a touch of realism, and this relies on actual men belonging to political and religious groups. Moreover, there was a touch of realism, and this relies on actual men belonging to the opposite political and religious groups. There was a rebirth of moral natures of man which followed intellectuals' awakening. Unfortunately, despotism was still order of the day. Fanaticism was still rampant. Puritanism became a national movement against the tyrannical rule of the King Charles, who made laws which are against the people. The people rebelled against him, and finally Charles I was defeated and beheaded in 1649. Puritanism stood for change, liberty, tolerance towards some fanatics and extremists among them. After the defeat of King, many severe laws were passed under the Cromwell. Many simple modes of recreations and amusement were banned. An austere standard of living was imposed on the people. There was no backslid standard imitations to the older forts and the exertion of the metaphysical forts replaced the versions dignified in highly imaginative composition of Elizabethan. The lecture and brief. The Puritan age is also the second renaissance of English literature. Such poets were born, just like John Milton, who wrote such a magnificent poetry and prose that people become so aware of it. Milton's most famous work of John Milton is Paradise Lost. The theme of the poem is to show him man to the way of God. The poem is very, very good in nature's writing and very sublime language. Paradise Regained is also a very great work of John Milton's. In this period, people were banned. People were not allowed to write their own poetry. Such lectures were banned, books were banned, many other things were banned. And this time, John Milton, a very good writer, wrote Arpita. He gave fruits to the Charles I. And in the time of Asophagus, in the Greek time, the books were banned, and people were not allowed to write poetry against the state. So he shows in that work of prose that how it will describe the literature of English. Therefore, he is very great. Milton was the greatest poet of Puritan age. He stands head and shoulder over all his contemporaries. Unlike Shakespeare, he was egoistic in all his poetry. He sang about himself and his lofty soul. He was deeply religious man. He combined himself the spirit of Renaissance and Reformation. He was a great humanist. He thinks poetry is serious business of life. Wordsworth wrote about him. His soul was like a star